slightly different to your sort of standard email marketing platform in that we work with like a pretty narrow niche of the emails, and those would be your Shopify transactional emails or store notifications or triggered emails, whatever we want to call them. Just don't call them campaigns or flows or newsletters. And to give you a bit of background, as Olivia mentioned, my name is Roddy Smith. I am the Director of Sales and Partnerships at Spently. I will be any of your main point of contact in regards to all things Spently. And as I said a minute ago, I'm in the home office far too often. So if you have any questions, please hit me up. But yeah, let's chat about the transactional emails a little bit. So to give some context, Spently, we've been doing this for about 7 years now. We were one of the first few apps into the Shopify App Store. And initially, our software was built to get rid of the paper receipt. So as a startup, we were trying to crack into big tier 1 retailers to get them to start emailing receipts like you see at the Apple Store. But what we quickly realized and had happen was, these tier 1 retailers are really hard to crack into, and we ran out of runway. So we started doing some Shopify builds on the side, just building out themes and stores for people. And then we had one merchant reach out to us, and they're like, "Hey, have you seen that Shopify order confirmation? It looks like garbage." And much like a lot of merchants that we speak with, we sort of shrugged our shoulders and said, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." And then when we dug into a little bit deeper, it was a pretty quick pivot from there into the app that Spently is today. So if you're going to take away one, or I guess 3 things from this call, it's really Spently's value prop. So our value prop is 3 things. 1, let's make these most opened emails match the really nice website that you guys have built. A lot of the times we see them just using the default Shopify notification, which doesn't match their brand's voice, and doesn't look like the website at all. Number 2, throw in a cheeky bit of marketing. Everybody opens their transactional emails. Show me someone that doesn't open a shipping confirmation, and I will show you a liar. Because point number 3 is data and analytics. We back those stats up with information about what's happening with these templates. So it's really make them match your website, throw in some marketing, back it up with data. That's really Spently's value prop and what we really help with. There are 30, actually, I might as well just turn on my screen share, or are we waiting to dive into that bit?
No, you're good. Take it away.
Okay, cool. So everyone should see my screen now, or should see a Shopify dashboard. Oh, actually, that's partner dashboard. Let's go to an actual one. So if we go to settings and then into notifications, these are all of the transactional emails that Spently works with. So when I started with Spently, I think there was 14 of them. We are now up to 30. Granted, not all of these are going to be used by your merchants. So like local delivery, local pickup might not be used. I'm willing to bet the vast majority of merchants that you're working with aren't using Shopify's abandoned checkout email. They probably have an abandoned cart set up through a Klaviyo or OmniSend or someone else. But our real bread and butter are these transactional emails. So the one thing I always try to stress is I'm not trying to replace Klaviyo. I'm not trying to replace OmniSend or MailChimp or whatever other ESP your clients might be using. Really what I want your merchants to do is just take advantage of these emails that everybody opens. Not everybody's going to opt into email marketing or sign up to receive those newsletters. And even if they do, they aren't necessarily going to stick around forever. Whereas with your transactional emails, everybody opens them and you have to send them by law. And the other really important bit with it is your shopper's excitement is at an all-time high at this point. They've just bought something from you, and then to send out, this sort of lackluster default template doesn't really do your brand justice, doesn't really, match their nice looking website that they've spent, I was about to say hours obsessing over, but it's realistically probably weeks, months, years obsessing over. And you're really just missing out on an opportunity there. So out of the transactional emails, there are 30 of them, but we do see some big heavy hitters. So the order confirmation being one of those. All of the shipping emails are big heavy hitters in this. The shipping confirmation is probably the most engaged with email that a Shopify merchant will ever send. The out for delivery and delivered do have the ability to turn them on or off. Now, these ones are carrier dependent. So you're relying on USPS or Canada Post or UPS, whoever it is, to ping that information back to Shopify to send that one out. It doesn't always happen, but it's definitely worth taking a look at them and making sure that you've got them sort of tailored to your brand. The other sort of sneaky winners that I really like are like the account welcome. If they've gone to the trouble to create an account on your site to, store their purchases, make the checkout process quicker, chances are they're pretty interested in the brand, and so it just makes sense to throw some recommended products in there. There was an Experian article, a third-party report from a couple of years ago that talks about transactional emails, and in that article, it says that you're 20 times more likely to convert a shopper into a repeat purchase just by including recommended products in your transactional emails. And that's really Spently's business case is, just throw some extra products in there, maybe a discount code to get them back into your shop. We can also use these emails to reduce customer support debt. So we work with a couple of the mattress in a box companies, and they have like their setup instructions in the transactional email. Because if they've opted out of the marketing emails, they might not get that flow coming from their other ESP. Is that all making sense so far? Everybody's nodding yes? Cool. Also, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to interrupt me. I think it always makes it a lot easier if you have any questions throughout, so just ask away. So those are all of the transactional emails that Spently works with. Let's pop over into our builder here. And I'm just going to sort of show you, this is my demo store, so it's not actually a live store or anything. So obviously a whole lot of these stats are wildly average at zeros. But what we're going to do here is we, let them know what plan they're on. We give them some high-level stats in terms of total opens, unique opens, clicks, unique clicks, clicked open rate. There is a bar graph that normally shows up there like this. And then when you hover over it, you can click into the template, and then it will give you a breakdown on that specific template, as well as the order that came off the back of it, with the shopper's email address, whether it was a discount code used, repeat purchase, first-time purchase. So you get a bit more data. This is a huge blind spot in Shopify at the moment. You have no idea how any of these emails are performing. And at the end of the day, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So with Spently, we give you the ability to measure it, and then you can see how your transactional emails are performing. We also show you, discounts redeemed, how many have been redeemed, the dollar value. I'll go into a bit more detail about the discount codes when I jump into the builder. But any questions on the transactional or on the data or analytics that we're providing for these emails? No? Good. Okay, cool. I will hop into the builder now because I think it sort of really helps show what we do. So one that Brian and I worked on recently, this was a draft that I mocked up for him, but what I'll do is let's just go back to, so this is what the vast majority of merchants are sending out. So they might have thrown in a logo up here, and they might have changed the color of the button, but that's the extent of the easy modifications you can make to these transactional emails. One thing worth mentioning is, yes, you could go in and adjust the HTML here yourself, but I have yet to meet a developer who likes writing HTML for email. It is an antiquated form of code from the 90s that hasn't really changed all that much. And it's a real pain. Tabling is the worst. It generally will not render properly, and it's just going to be a huge time suck for a developer to write out 30 of these transactional emails for your store and then add in the testing. It just takes forever. So it's just not a very efficient use of a developer's time. When you could flip it into something like Spently, where we can just really easily and quickly adjust all of these emails. So I used the Frederick Benjamin site as an example. As you can see, they've got a pretty nice look and feel here, and I just pulled in some of these images and assets into their transactional email. So throw the logo in. Firstly, throw a navigation bar across the top. There are only 2 clickable links in the order confirmation, and just by throwing in the navigation bar, we're already directing them back to some of the areas where they can find out some information about the product, their blog, how to use it, or to go back to your most popular collections to shop again. Everything within Spently is pretty easy to use. Drag and drop. So if you want to throw an image in there, and then, I don't know, maybe chuck a button underneath it with a CTA or something there, we can do that. Or if you want to, I don't know, maybe group it together, we can drag them into the group component here. So it's all drag and drop, pretty easy to adjust. In terms of the copy in the email, again, we make it a lot easier to adjust. So if you wanted to adjust this text to say, match your brand's voice, super easy to pop in here, and then you can just change it up here. We do also give you all of Shopify's liquid variables here, so you can quickly throw in, the shopper's first name. So it'll say, hey, Olivia, your product's coming in hot. Stay tuned for the shipping confirmation. Then I'm definitely not a designer, as you're probably all aware of by now, because this isn't even centered. So I did a quick screen grab and threw that in there. But just throwing in some additional information in there about their products. Your shopper's excitement is at an all-time high when they receive this order confirmation. So let's make sure that we're giving them the information they need to cut down on customer support, as well as giving them all of the pertinent information as to what they bought. Again, everything's really easy to adjust. If you want to have a bigger image in there, let's throw a bigger image in there. If you wanted to adjust the styling here and, I don't know, maybe center these, let's do that. So the nuts and bolts of the email, kind of the same. We're pulling all this information in from Shopify, so it all changes dynamically. But we just give you more control over it to make it look nicer and match your brand. Where Spently really starts to separate ourselves is with some of the marketing components here. So again, I just threw in a banner looping into like some of their bundles or kits to drive shoppers back to their site. But one of our most used features is probably the discount code. Now, worth mentioning, we have lots of merchants who don't discount at all. I'm not a huge fan of discounting just for the sake of it. The last thing you want to do is have it eat into your margins. So there are quite a few ways that we can adjust these discount codes to make sure that it makes sense for your business. We can do a dollar amount, percentage, free shipping. I'm actually big fan of dollar amount because I've read a couple studies that talk about how assigning giving like a specific dollar figure, like 5, 10, 20 bucks off, gets better engagement because people are adding more value to it than like an abstract percentage. We can change that dollar amount or percentage to however generous you are feeling. We can throw an expiration date on it to make sure that it's not being crawled by honey and it's not going to be abused across the internet or Reddit at large. We can also make it so it's only redeemable on specific collections, or perhaps only on orders over a certain amount. Generally, what I suggest is whatever your average order volume is, make it like 10 bucks more than that. So we're forcing them to perhaps throw in that additional product that then in turn gets your units per transaction up and pushes that AOV up a little bit as well. We do also have the ability to do conditional discounts. So what we can do with the conditional discounts is, let's say the order is above $95, you might want to give them a 17% discount. But if it's less than that, you might only want to give them a 10% discount. So that way we're giving the higher discount to the people who have spent more with you to try to, sort of reward them for their for shopping with you. Couple other cool things we do with the discount code is we create these discount codes automatically. So it'll say like, we tap into Shopify's a discount API and we throw the shopper's first name in there. So it'll say like Ashley ABCOI for order information. It will create a bunch of discount codes within their Shopify backend, but then we can see which ones are being redeemed when we go back over to the analytics there. Does that all make sense, guys? Cool. Finally, I already mentioned the recommended products. Throw these in everywhere. If you're not throwing in recommended products, then you're losing out on a chance to upsell that shopper and get them back into the store. So again, there are a few different ways that we can do this. We do have a hidden collection here. So Spendly automatically creates this hidden collection within Shopify. You can then go into collections and create rules around it. So let's say you have, I don't know, a higher margin on a particular vendor, then what we can do is, add a condition. So product vendor is equal to Bob's or whatever it is. And then that way we're pushing the products that you have a higher margin on. It is going to by default throw in their most popular products. But again, a bunch of ways that we can sort of create rules around this from directly within Shopify. We will also never show them a product that they have just purchased. And that way we're ensuring that we're always showing them something new. Now, this feature with the conditional recommendations, we rolled this out not too long ago as a bit of a test to just sort of see if merchants were going to be using it. And we've gotten a resounding yes back, so we are going to be revisiting it. But what we can do with the conditional recommendations is basically segment things out to make sure that we're showing them something relevant to what they've just purchased. So let's say they have bought a pair of, I don't know, let's say they bought a pair of Adidas. We might want to show them sneaker care or cleaner. And then that way we know what they've bought, show them something that's relevant to get that upsell in there. Right now it is currently only one rule, and so that's what we're going to be revisiting, is throwing in multiple rules there so we can create them for a whole bunch of different collections. So we're really sort of personalizing what products we're recommending based off of what collection they've purchased from. If they did not purchase from the Adidas collection, then what we're going to do is you can pick whatever other collection you would like to revert back to. So generally we suggest the recommended products because again, that's going to be your most popular products. A few other things worth mentioning with the recommended products. We do have an integration with the guys over at LimeSpot. We have thrown snippets of code in from other recommendation engines. That one we have to work out a little bit, but we do have the custom code component that allows us to do some creative things with the HTML. And it's also kind of a developer's dream because then you're just putting in the tricky bits of HTML into the builder, and then you don't have to worry about the styling and designing of the templates. So we can do conditional statements in here. What I've seen merchants do is if they tag their shoppers with VIP or with subscriptions, they might want to offer discounts that are only applicable to their subscription collection to share with a friend. So there's lots of creative things that we can do with these templates to make sure that they're sort of tailored to the product you sell, as well as the people that you're selling to. Another couple good examples that we've done with that is with some of those mattress in the box companies, is including the specific assembly instructions for the product they've purchased, whether it's a bed frame or a bed. We can throw in different image components in there wrapped around some custom code and some conditional else if statements to show the specific video on how to put that bed together. So finally, we all know brands have been built on social platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Let's just throw some of that user-generated content in across the bottom here. This is not dynamic at all. It's just a screen grab from their site and then just looping in your social channels. And then finally, what we want to make sure that we're doing is just taking the same look and feel and throwing it across all of the transactional emails. So all of your order emails, whether it's order canceled, order refund. If they're using Shopify POS, this is another one of my favorites because let's turn that foot traffic into online traffic, and we can steer people back from your brick and mortar location back to your website, but just by putting some creative copy in there and making the discount only applicable to the online store. Order canceled is actually another one of my favorites. This one is often seen as a negative email because you're canceling the order, obviously. But if you've given them a good customer service experience, canceled that order, answered any questions they had, and then throw some recommended products in the bottom and maybe some cute copy across the top that says, we're really sorry this one didn't work out. Here is a discount code for one of these products below that we think you will love. And I'll always push it out to 4 products. And that can be a really great way to flip that from a negative into a positive and get that shopper back into your store. But the main thing here is let's take that same look and feel and apply it to every single one of your transactional emails. So you have that continuous shopping journey across all of your emails. You have your brand's voice and that sort of story from, they've just purchased to the product delivered right through all of these email templates. Now that I have probably rambled on too long in regards to transactional emails, that's kind of my spiel done and dusted in terms of Spendly, what we do, and how we help merchants. So I'm keen to flip it back to you guys to see if anybody has any questions for me.
Good job, Roddy. That was very informative, and I like how simple it is, right? And as an agency, it looks like we just kind of make the introduction and kind of support it, and we don't need it to use any developer time or anything like that, which is awesome. I actually have a question just back to our team, and everything. I see you're here, so I think I'm going to pick at you. I know you have quite a few Shopify clients. Usually, do we, like the stuff that Roddy was going through, did that look familiar to you, those emails? I assume we kind of just put in like a logo and maybe change like the colors, or kind of what do we do standard without Spendly? And like, where would you see Spendly fitting into like the process? Is it like, hey, your store is done, now let's talk to Spendly, or even maybe beforehand?
I think, thank you, Michael. I think I was actually going to ask that, ask the same question that you did. My question was a bit differently formed, I guess. I was going to ask, do you usually see the shop owners using your program, or do you usually see the developers of the websites using it? Because the way I envision it is, to answer your question, Mike, I would probably do it while I build the store. So I would create the concept and I would create the templates, right? While I create the store. And then once I'm ready to launch the store, I would launch it all together with the whole thing. The way I see it now, we don't necessarily, they don't necessarily do anything specific. They don't, I've never seen, to be honest with you, a client of mine focusing too much on email marketing of any sort in Shopify. Actually, the two that do focus on it use MailChimp. So yeah, thank you.
Gotcha. Yeah, you raise a couple really good points there. I'll be the first to admit one of my biggest hurdles is I say transactional emails, and a lot of people just hear emails and think, no, I've got that covered with MailChimp or Klaviyo or whoever it is. And so, yes, these emails are a pretty niche subset of the sort of overall email marketing umbrella. In terms of how it would work with you guys, I mean, that ultimately depends on you. At the end of the day, these are your clients and you know them better than I. I can give you some examples of how we work with other agencies and what seems to be work, and because one of them you already mentioned. So a lot of our agencies will, in the build process, will just have setting up Spendly as part of that process, where you already have all their brand assets, you know what color their buttons are, you know what the logo looks like, and you can generally lay like a pretty bare bones basic template that's going to look head and shoulders above the Shopify default template really, really quickly. We actually have a new tool in beta right now. I don't know if this is going to be going out live, so I don't want to spill too much about this. I don't know if we can edit this part out or something, because it's still in beta, but it's basically an auto export that would make it really easy for you to get all of those templates from Spendly into Shopify really, really quickly. And I'm happy to open up that beta to you guys to make it easier for you to use Spendly. Scenario number 2 in how we would potentially work together would be what I did with Brian for Frederick Benjamin. So they are up and running with Spendly right now. They've already, I think they've been live for like 2 weeks, if that, and they already have like 5x ROI that we've generated off the back of these emails. And the way it sort of worked was Brian sort of project managed it. I mocked up a template for them, that one that I showed you there, and then he passed it along to the clients. Client said, yes, I like this, let's go for it. Then we roll into our setup process. So a couple perks that I'm happy to offer to any SmartSite client is, if they're moving on to one of our paid plans, I can very happily throw in complimentary setup, where we will design and draft all of these templates for you, as well as 30 days for free. Now, we actually ended up doing 60 days for free for Frederick Benjamin as sort of that first mutual client that we were getting up and running. But Mike actually pointed out that we have a couple other mutual clients that were already using Spendly from previously, like Hat Heaven, who we have a case study up on our site from. So there are definitely some others in there. But generally, it's sort of one of those 2 routes. And where I see SmartSites maybe setting up the templates is if it's a brand new build and they don't have that sort of marketing engine running behind them, and they're maybe not moving on to a paid plan, then you can lay that sort of baseline in terms of the nice looking templates. And then if they grow, then we can always loop them into myself and do sort of like a redesign when they move on to a paid plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. If there are any other questions out there, I'm happy to answer. I know we had like an hour for this, but because we're pretty niche and we work with a very focused view on the transactional emails, it looks like everybody might get some time back in their calendar today. So that's never a bad thing, especially on a Friday.
Right. I think I just have one more question. If you could, I just want to push a little bit more on the relationship with Klaviyo and the like, because some things you mentioned, like order confirmation emails, isn't like a standard Klaviyo, I don't know, right? It isn't like one of their bread and butter things, right? But something like a welcome email sequence, I feel like is one of the first things that Klaviyo instructs you to do.
100%.
So yeah, can you expand a little bit more on like the overlap? Like if you have Klaviyo, should you do the welcome sequence with Spendly or should you not? Do many of your clients already have a ESP or yeah?
Yeah, excellent question. So yeah, the vast majority of Spendly clients are using another ESP in tandem with Spendly. I sort of see it as a really nice 1-2 punch where your Omnisend or Klaviyo or whoever is really great for your campaigns and flows and welcome series and those sorts of things, and then Spendly for your transactional emails. So in terms of the welcome series, that one absolutely, like Spendly can't do that. We don't deal with those sorts of series. The one that we do deal with is the account welcome or the account invite. The account welcome is more tied to the checkout process and creating the account within Shopify, and is not tied to them creating or giving you their email address to get into that welcome series flow. So they're slightly different, if that makes sense. In regards to like the order confirmation, those are ones that Klaviyo, Omnisend don't really handle the way we do. I think they do have a template that you can use, but it's not very flexible and not terribly easy to change around. And the big key with all of these transactional emails is you, aside from the ones that I showed you that had that toggle switch, you can't turn them off. They go out by Shopify automatically and are going out right now. And so if you're not, branding them to your website, throwing in that bit of marketing, then you're kind of just leaving money on the table in terms of upselling them through an email that I guarantee your shoppers or their shoppers are opening.
Got it.
But yeah, all of our merchants are using another ESP in conjunction with Spently, and I generally recommend keeping it that way because they're great for campaigns and flows. We're great for transactional emails. And
any experience with SMS? Just I know Spently is not SMS and Shopify, but just I don't know.
Yeah, so that's one that we've hummed and hawed about a lot internally is, could we do something similar with SMS? Shopify does have the option to send like your order confirmation and stuff through via SMS, but it still sends the transactional email in addition to it. It's not something that we really touch on right now, and I'm not sure if we'll be wading into those waters because the likes of PostScript or SMS Bump are sort of have that market on lock right now, and I think we have enough to chew on with the transactional emails at the moment. Irina, did you have a question?
Yep. Thank you. So it's more like a note. Our clients often struggle with the fact that Shopify in itself has limitations in terms of customizing websites. From our end, altering the liquid code is mostly not even possible, right? Most of the times. What are the levels of customization? Like I saw there's drag and drop. I saw that there's a lot of stuff you can play with a new program. But say we have a client that really wants, I don't know, a super customized option. Is there a possibility to create that for them? Is there a way for us to give them the exact idea that they imagined in an email, for example, or in a yeah?
Sure, yeah. So look, I mean, the salesman in me would love to say, not a problem at all. We can do that. However, the realist in me knows that we'd probably have to take that on a case-by-case basis. Our builder is pretty flexible. Having said that, there are some things that are kind of tricky to adjust within them. Mainly the line items that we get from Shopify in terms of products listed, how those show up. That whole sort of the nuts and bolts of the transactional email in there, it is a bit more rigid and we cannot touch that bit as much. In terms of other stuff in and around the builder, we're pretty flexible. A lot of the times what we have is our merchants will come to us and they say, hey, I'm sending out this with Klaviyo, and they'll send us a whole bunch of examples of what their Klaviyo templates are. And my usual answer is, we can probably come really, really, really close to matching it. I can't guarantee that we'll be able to get 100% pixel perfect on that, but I guarantee it's going to look way better than the Shopify default notification.
Thank you so much. That answers my question.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't really answer your question, and I'm happy to call that one out. But it's sort of a tricky one because it depends on the merchant and what they really want to do. We have had some examples where some stuff just isn't possible, and sometimes it also just doesn't make sense to do that in a transactional email. One of the things that I always really try to push with these emails is, this is not a newsletter. You don't want to load it up with a whole bunch of information like a newsletter, because then it's going to lose its efficacy. People aren't going to open it as much, and it's just going to get lost in the shuffle of your email. So I generally suggest a 60-40 split on the transactional email. Have 60% of it pertaining to that specific order, and then that cheeky bit of marketing that we throw down at the bottom. And if they see, a discount code and a recommended products, it's just a really quick, easy way to loop them back into your shop quickly.
Thank you. That does answer my question.
Perfect. Okay, good.
And Roddy, if you don't mind, to kind of piggyback off that discussion, I was going to kind of pick your brain a little bit more about kind of the agency component here and how you've worked in the past in terms of conceptualizing. Say we have a shared client that, for the sake of this example, we would refer to you, they would sign up. Is it then ultimately left to you on your end have account managers or whatever they may be, customer support team that kind of assist them with that, or in an agency partnership role, is that where we would kind of step in to help build out these actual emails?
Good question. So I'd say the vast majority of our agency partners, the way it tends to work is I get like an intro to the client. I'm always happy to jump on a call, run through a demonstration as very similar to what I've done here, and sort of highlight, what we're doing differently. At the end of it, when the customer says, "That was fantastic, Roddy, you've done a wonderful job of presenting the power of transactional emails. I would love to get this going." The way our setup process tends to work is step one is to get them to install the app. Step two is I then send over a custom link to activate that trial. And then I send over a store access request and a quick little questionnaire. Questionnaire gives us sort of the details of what they want to do within these emails, what it looks like, what we're, just sort of gives us our baseline in terms of what they want for the templates. And then we send over a draft, and then you give us the thumbs up or the thumbs down. If it's a thumbs down, we make the changes and we adjust from there. Once we get the thumbs up, then we set everything live, and then we monitor throughout the process. We run training webinars twice a week. And then I'm always happy to jump on a call to do, one-on-one training webinars or account reviews with various clients on an ad hoc basis.
Got it. That's great to know. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Hello, Brian. Good to see you.
Hey, Roddy. Nice to see you again.
Hey Brian, since you're on it and we're wrapping up, so you'll be the perfect closer here. I know you've worked with Roddy a little bit, with Frederick Benjamin. Has that been, if it's been executed, awesome, tell us about that. But even if it hasn't, how has the experience been so far?
Yeah, it's actually up and running, but in terms of, like the client onboarding setup, it's really just, I got a form through Google Forms, took me about like 15 minutes to add in all the information that I was looking at, in terms of like the email design, what I wanted to include in there. Spendly is up and running right now. I believe we're at like $400 in revenue just off like order emails. So it's pretty much like free money at this point. Oh, $547 actually. So it is going up. It's been live for maybe like 5-6 days. So showing some promise here. Client likes it. I'm pretty happy with it. And then Callum, this support guy, he created it in about like a day or so. It was very fast.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that it all went well. I was like, this is going to be really awkward if Brian says no. It was a horrible experience, very laborious. So I'm glad to hear the client's happy and everything's going well. I think their templates, like Callum's a much better designer than I am. So the example that I showed you there, the live one, looks even better than that. I didn't go with the live example because I realized that there were some like email addresses and stuff in the analytics and reports, and I didn't think that would probably be the best thing to share, especially if we're going to be sharing this elsewhere.
Thank you for not showing that.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect close. So Brian, thank you for that. Roddy, thank you so much for the very informative and really kind of like easy to understand, easy to explain, product service offering you have. I think it makes sense for a lot of clients to have this. I mean, it really does. And you didn't talk much about pricing, but everyone could just do themselves and check. I think your pricing makes sense as well, and it's not one of those like they pay a percentage, whatever. It's the buckets make sense. Actually, I guess before we close off, I want to talk a little bit about pricing, and you have a free tier as well.
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah. So we have we use usage-based billing. If they're doing less than 50 orders a month, that's totally free, and they can use Spently at no cost. Irina, that's what I mentioned. If it's like a new build and they're just sort of getting going, that one might make sense for maybe for your team to design it on that new build, and then they can get up and running for free. If it's an existing client who does have, some volume, our pricing starts at $100, and then it upgrades or downgrades automatically based off of their order volume. So from 50 to 500 orders, it's $100. Then 500 to 1,000 is $200. Then 1,000 and up is $400 a month, and it will downgrade as well based off of their order volume. Now, the reason that we do it off of order volume rather than email sent, like a lot of the other ESPs, is just because we initially did it that way, but we found it kind of unfair because technically Spently is not sending these emails. The final step of the setup process is to export these templates into Shopify, and Shopify is still sending these, so you maintain that sending reputation, and you don't have to worry about them going into spam and things like that. One order could have order confirmation, shipping update, shipment out for delivered, shipment delivered. So it did make sense to charge for like 5 emails off of like one order. So we just do it on a per order basis.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for explaining that. And thanks again for joining us today in the SmartSites Partner Lunch and Learn sessions. And lastly, thank you, Olivia, for setting this up and scheduling it. I appreciate you taking the lead on that. And thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to me ramble on. I greatly appreciate your time and jumping on the call on a Friday afternoon. If you guys have any questions, my email is roddy, RODDY, @spentlyhq.com. Brian, we've got a Slack channel going there that we chat in fairly often. Feel free to jump on the Slack channel there, or my phone number's in my signature. I'm always happy to chat, and anything I can do to make your guys' life easier is what I'm here for. I'm happy to help. So, Olivia, thank you so much for organizing this, and to all the SmartSites team, thank you for listening to me ramble on.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Roddy.
Thanks so much.